going to happen. And then she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, we've done this before. And then she says, oh, you know, the next time you wake up, come see me. And then then you understand, oh, she's so badass because she had this ability too, you know, sometime in the past.
Yeah, and then so her character, even though it resets, her character at that point knew what he was, knew the power that he had.
That he had possessed.
So there's like layers to this that is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And so when he wakes up, because every time he dies on the battlefield or in that day, he's reset back to when they put him on the ship to be deployed. Yeah. He then goes to see this decorated soldier, which is Rita, Emily Blunt's character. And so the second time he finds her and she's like, what do you want? You know, why are you here? And he's like, oh, well, I was on the battlefield tomorrow, and I found you, and you told me right before we died to come see you when I woke up. Yeah. And you can see in her eyes that the light bulb kind of turns on, and she says, follow me. And she kind of shows him this plan that he can never tell anybody about. Yeah. That I guess they're going to need to use his power to kind of destroy this species of alien. And the what's it called, the kind of brain of them,
the Omega.
Yeah the Omega, which is like where they kind of started from, and this big kind of brain that they're protecting. But the trick is, he got the power from them. Yeah. So what they don't anticipate is that the aliens know that he has the power, and that they're trying to use it against the aliens. So the aliens set up a counterattack, which is insane. Yeah. The whole time they're trying to get to this one point where they think they need to go, because he's getting visions of where they think this Omega brain is, basically. And it turns out that the whole time they were feeding him fake visions so that they could get him alone to go somewhere else. And basically, in order for them to take away his powers, he has to bleed out, basically, and lose all of the blood that he got in the beginning. Which is the blue, I think it's blue. Which is the blue mimics blood before he died the first time. And so he ends up dying, and then going back and telling them this was, everything we've been doing is a lie. It's a trap, basically. And then they have to figure out where to go from there. And I think he automatically kind of wants to go talk to the general and explain to him. And then she says, well, I've tried that before. I ended up in a psych ward. They dissected me and did experiments on me to figure out why I can do the things I can do, or how I can remember things. And so they have to figure out what else to do after that. And what do they do?
Oh man, talking too much. So they, the guy who is helping them, he is a machinist, basically, who helps build these mechanized suits, and he's kind of figured out how to basically trace where the Omega thing, the Omega brain is. And in order for them to do that, they have to go to the general, convince him that everything he's about to tell them is the truth, and get their the little device. And they end up getting the device and finding out where the actual Omega is, which is it's in the Louvre. Yeah, and then he has to convince all the people who are in his company to try to figure out how to get this thing killed.
And he pretty much recruits a lot of the soldiers that you see on the battlefield.
And you see them die a bunch of times. Yeah.
And he recruits them to go somewhere else with him on this kind of suicide mission to the Omega. Yeah. And needless to say, that's a pretty amazing conclusion. Yeah. That they do. Yeah.
The whole everybody does.
Pretty much. Yeah. That's the point, I think.
Yeah. They all knew. They said, we're gonna die. So just if something happens, don't be afraid. You know, you're gonna die anyways.
Well, I mean, it was all or nothing with that because if they hadn't have stopped it, the end of the world would have came eventually.
Yeah.
Because the aliens can't have that kind of power, otherwise they can just anticipate all the wars. They'll win all the wars because they know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I think that this film is guilty of, and why I wouldn't give it a 10, is that there's no real perspective. It's guilty of that. The thing that a lot of these science fiction movies do, where they don't give you enough perspective from the opposite side, the aliens or that new species. It's like they're looked at as like these kind of just cold creatures, killing machines, and you don't really know why they're there. That you're just kind of tossed into this scenario, and they're painted to be the bad guys, but they could really be there for a number of reasons.
Yeah. I did like the little bit of information they did give you about where they came from. They said a comet had hit Earth, and then the attack started. And I thought that was pretty cool, just to give a kind of little,
like a little exposition.
Yeah, just a little bit. But yeah.
I just think it's interesting how, I don't know if it's just us as society, we're kind of scared of that, you know, that other side.
Yeah.
But they always paint them in that way where they don't really give them much of a voice.
Yeah.
And that's why I like District 9, because it plays with the different, like you really get to feel.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for those characters, and even like Chappie or Elysium, those are all the same. They're all Blomkamp, but he's really good at writing from the opposite
perspective.
Yeah, and I like that a lot. It gives the film a little bit more dynamic, you know, not so one-sided. Even though I feel like that's probably on purpose to propel this story, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
What would you? Who was your favorite character?
Favorite character? Man, does it have to be Emily Blunt's character?
Okay.
Yeah, because she's so badass.
Hard ass.
Yeah, she's awesome. Just chopping those mimics down. Yeah, spinning through the air like a blender.
I like how when she's like when she's stretching, or like the end when he goes to, and they when they meet for the first time, he's already met her
like a million times probably.
Yeah, and he knows all this stuff, and she's like, yeah, what do you want?
Yeah.
And they cut to the credits.
And he just you just see Tom Cruise kind of like laugh.
Or he does this little giggle.
Yeah, he's like it wasn't like that though.
Didn't he? He's like, only if you only knew.
Yeah. And then it cuts to the credits, and it's like, whoa, okay. Yeah.
That's the point, is that now by that point he's saved the world single-handedly. Everybody gets to reset. Nobody's actually died.
Yeah.
They all go back, and he can now start that romance with Emily Blunt.
Yeah.
Because he has the upper hand. He knows everything.
She knows
all her all her weaknesses. It's kind of scary, actually.
Yeah. It's like I'm your
dream man,
but you don't know, but you never met me. You know, I know everything about you. But yeah. My question is, do you think he has the power of the Omega now? That's his blood mixed with the Omega, and the reason he got his powers in the beginning, you know, was because his blood mixed with the Alpha.
What he does, he runs out of ammo, and he's in a kind of vulnerable position, and he sees the mimic. And the mimic notices him, and he goes for this mine. Yeah. And so he does this kind of kamikaze thing where he's like, "Fuck it, I'm going to take it with me and kill myself." Yeah. And when he does that, thinking obviously that he didn't know he would come back. Yeah. The blood of that mimic and him merge. I think goes into his face wounds. Yeah. And so it automatically sends him in this time loop. Yeah. And he goes back, and so at the end, what we didn't mention is that Rita tells him, whatever you do when you know you're about to die, you must you have to make sure you kill yourself all the way, because if the reason why I lost my power is that I hurt myself and I woke up in a hospital and they had given me some blood transfusions, and it took away, I lost my power because of that. And that happens to Tom Cruise's Cage character. And so he actually, for a time towards the conclusion, loses his power. So if he had died before he got to the Omega, that would have been it for him. He couldn't come back.
And that's what makes that whole final scene, that whole final...
the stakes are are high.
Yeah, because this is the last time he can do this, because... he's already told that
there are no do-overs.
He's like, I lost my blood. You know, they gave me a blood transfusion. He's like, but I know where we have to go. And he's like, this is the last time we can do this. And he ends up, Emily ends up sacrificing herself because it's just him and her left in like a parking garage basement or whatever, and the Alpha is kind of circling the Omega, waiting for Tom Cruise's character to show up, and because they know he's going to attack him. So Emily says, I'm going to run this way, and it's going to chase me and kill me, and while it's killing me, you go and destroy the Omega. And it rips her in half. Yeah, you actually see it. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It was pretty brutal, that scene. You just hear like stomping on her, which is crazy that they did that. But Tom Cruise eventually gets in, he dives into the water where this thing is, and
which was amazing. It reminded me a lot of the Alien Resurrection scenes where they go under the water and with the, you know what I mean, very beautiful stuff, cinematography, and not to cut you off, but he's swimming towards the Omega, the brain, and he has like this packet of kind of internal bombs, and he gets kind of pierced through the heart real quick, and he's kind of dying in the water, and you're worried, and he drops the packet of grenades, and it falls inside the Omega, and he turns around and he shows the mimic that he's pulled the pins.
He opens his hand up and you see the pins fall out of his hand, and then the thing just explodes. And then you see
all of the aliens simultaneously fall over. And because they've killed the main.
Because I like the way they described the mimics as they're all basically one single entity, basically, but
being controlled from one mainframe, pretty much. And so once that's taken away, they have no source. There's nowhere. They're not generating from anywhere. So they all kind of die off. At the same time. And then with that, like you said, going back to what you said, he is then his blood again mixes with with
the Omega.
That alien, and he's reset
further.
Back to when he wakes up right before he is
court-martialed.
Where he talks to the general. And in the beginning he gets in trouble and he tries to blackmail the general, and this resets him even farther before that. And so he goes kind of straight, or at least they just show you, he goes straight to see Rita, right? And introduce himself. And that's when he does the fuck you, Tom Cruise.
But and that's the movie
pretty much in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, with a whole bunch of other things that happen in between.
But that's way more fancy than probably us talking about it, but that's why you gotta watch it.
Exactly,
because it's awesome. So do you want to do some Swan facts or the interview first?
Well, first I want to ask you what your rating of this movie would be.
8.5.
8.5. Okay, I'd give it an 8.
Okay.
And what was your favorite scene? Because I didn't get to ask you that.
Favorite scene.
The fans want to know.
I would have to say when he goes back on the beach one of the final times, and he's memorized all the patterns, so he's just slaying everyone.
Yeah, that's an awesome scene.
Yeah, and he's given up. He doesn't try to save any of the humans. He's just like, I'm gonna fucking kill all these aliens, and that's when you see them